I fell in love with the devoted female second lead from the novel. With the system's help, I wooed her for 7 years. Finally, she was moved by me and agreed to get engaged. At the engagement party, a runaway truck crashed in. At the critical moment, the second female lead shoved me aside and chose to save the male lead she loved. Her back was cut, blood pouring forth, while the male lead she adored was unscathed. I fell into a pool of blood and finally understood the truth that she did not love me. This time, I told the system, finish the conquest mission. If she wants, for the protagonist, to end up with her family destroyed and nothing left, then I'll oblige her. Host, have you decided? Once you end the conquest, the heartbeat index will reset to 0. The system's electronic synthetic voice even sounded a bit regretful. After all, it was the one that pulled me into the book when I couldn't let go of Sophia Taylor, trying to change her ending. I've already done my best. I snorted bitterly. The wound in my chest where the rebar pierced me was still throbbing. Sophia Taylor is the devoted second female lead in this book. Insecure and starved for love since childhood, she treated the scraps of affection the male lead bestowed on her as a life-saving elixir, and in the end died at 25 while saving him. Her parents, saddled with the $10 million debt she left behind, were taken away to be used as human test subjects. I've been in this world for 7 years, recording every little detail of Sophia Taylor's life, noting her moods that change like the weather. Everyone knows how madly I love her. I even tattooed her name on my chest. At first, Sophia Taylor didn't accept me, but I gave it my all. She casually mentioned she liked the cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C., so I booked a flight overnight to pick the first bloom for her. When she had stomach pains, I ran across half the city to buy her favorite Miling porridge. Even when she offhandedly said she wanted a limited edition bag, I had people queue for 3 whole months and presented it to her on her birthday. By the 7th year, Sophia Taylor was nearly assaulted by a drunk, and I was stabbed 7 times trying to save her, losing so much blood that I fainted. When I woke, I saw Sophia Taylor kneeling beside my hospital bed, her palms pressed against my resuscitation notice, tear drops the size of beans smearing the black ink on the diagnosis paper. If he can survive, the girl's sobbing mixed with the alarm of the heart monitor, I'll marry him at once. Her soft, seductive voice was quiet, but in my mind it sounded like a thunderclap. I was stunned for a long time. Then after a while I came back to myself with a silly laugh, took her hand, and my look at her seemed to be laced with sweet honey. I'll marry you as soon as I'm discharged. After leaving the hospital, I worked day and night preparing the engagement banquet. Sophia Taylor liked roses, so I personally airshipped top-grade roses from Ecuador, 9,999 of them, each one handpicked by me. I also chose the wedding dress from among hundreds of top gowns worldwide. This dress was personally designed by a famous French designer, made from the finest silk and lace, and the train alone was 8 meters long. For every single detail, I did my best. Also that Sophia Taylor could be happy. Yet I still managed to ruin it. I had thought Sophia Taylor had changed her mind and that she had long since cast Dylan Cook out of her thoughts. It wasn't until the truck crashed into us that my wishful thinking finally shattered. I found a piece of cardboard and packed into it all the bits and pieces about Sophia Taylor over the years. Her photos, the engagement ring that hadn't been given away, and those dreamlike memories. I had believed that after surviving that life-and-death ordeal, she would feel a bit more fond of me. But I still underestimated the weight of the white moonlight. Even though I had accompanied her for 7 whole years and given everything, I could not compare to the irreplaceability of the white moonlight in her heart. Suddenly, I felt as if there were a block of ice frozen in my chest that wouldn't melt, each breath cutting into my heart and lungs. The system was still somewhat unwilling. Host, are you sure you really want to stop the pursuit? I nodded. How much longer until I can leave here? In 3 days, the teleport will auto-appear. In the meantime, you can do whatever you want. Consider putting a perfect period on these 7 years for yourself. I handed the cardboard box to Sophia Taylor's younger brother, Ryan Taylor. Those who have treated me well over these 7 years have also earned my trust. After I'm gone, help me bury this suitcase somewhere, anywhere. I don't really have anything left to cling to anymore. Ryan Taylor's expression instantly turned angry. Ethan, it was my sister who was in the wrong here. I'll go teach her a lesson right now. Having said that, he turned angrily to go find Sophia Taylor. I grabbed him. It's useless. Over the years, Ryan Taylor has seen how I've treated Sophia Taylor. I'd even plucked the stars from the sky for her. So that was why Ryan Taylor felt so indignant. But now I have come to terms with it, and finally understand that some encounters are simply the regret of mismatched seasons. Clinging to an ending that will never happen only multiplies the pain. Where are you going? Sophia Taylor, with a freshly bandaged wound, stood outside the door, her voice cool and clear like an empty valley. I looked at her, somewhat dazed, suddenly remembering that the first time I saw her was in this very scene. When the rain mist crept into the auction hall, she walked in wearing a black cheongsam. The small diamond hairpin trembled with her steps, and her eyelashes cast shadows beneath her eyes like butterfly wings. When she looked up, those eyes, steeped in a cold pool, and the stubbornness at the corner of her mouth were exactly like white jasmine struck down by the rain. Just that one glance reminded me of the unattainable ancient jade in the museum, and it made me sink entirely into the mire. But the lingering sorrow entwined in those eyes never once belonged to me. I'm not going anywhere. I just had Ryan help me deal with some useless things. Sophia Taylor didn't notice anything unusual. After looking at me for a long moment, she turned and left. Her temperament has always been so distant and cool. I had assumed she didn't care about anyone. I didn't realize her concern was reserved for just one person. In the evening, the villa's front gate was opened. I stared in astonishment as Dylan Cook rushed in a panic. He completely ignored my presence and headed straight for Sophia Taylor's room on the second floor. I was speechless and followed him upstairs. But just as he knocked, Sophia Taylor's impatient voice came from inside. "Get out. Didn't I tell you not to come up to the second floor?" Dylan Cook's tone grew increasingly anxious. "Annie, it's me. I'm worried." Before he finished speaking, the door was immediately opened. "Why are you here? Are you feeling any better?" The constant sorrow that lingered in Sophia Taylor's brows and eyes suddenly smoothed away when she saw him, turning into a softness as gentle as spring water. Only then did I realize the words just now had been meant for me. "I'm fine. It's you. Does your wound still hurt?" Dylan Cook asked, tenderly lifting the gauze. Sophia Taylor pulled his hand over and squeezed it tightly. "It's already scabbed over." She turned to look at the doorway. When her gaze passed over me, there was no warmth. She seemed about to say something, but then looked back at Dylan Cook, and her eyes filled with tenderness once more. "I'll stay with you and change your dressing." Dylan Cook gripped her lapel, his face full of concern. The gentleness in her eyes was a world apart from the cold indifference of the engagement banquet day when she had stared at her phone. "Why don't you go back first?" "I'm fine now." Dylan Cook frowned. "Are you really so eager to send me away?" "No, I want to stay with you forever." Sophia Taylor could no longer hold back. Right in front of me, she wrapped her arms tightly around Dylan Cook's waist and rested her head against his chest. "This time I won't ever let you go." These words should have been sweet, but at this moment they were like a poisoned blade, stabbing into my already battered heart. In the silhouette of their embrace, I finally understood that I was nothing more than an unnecessary footnote in her life. The scene made me want to vomit. I turned and walked away. I sat calmly on the sofa, but my knuckles had already clenched the cushion into deep creases. Listening to the unbearable sounds from upstairs, I could no longer hold back. Scalding tears struck my knees, and my throat felt as if stuffed with waterlogged cotton, able only to emit broken, intermittent sobs. After who knows how long, Dylan Cook came downstairs. His shirt collar was open, and 3 lipstick prints like smoldering cigarette burns marked his collarbone. I've already soothed Annie to sleep. She's been having nightmares lately and insists on holding my hand to fall asleep. If I'm not by her side, remember not to do what you did last time and throw the ice pack on her bedside table to scare her. A sharp curve appeared at the corner of Dylan Cook's mouth, a tau sheen in his eyes. "Oh, I forgot. Annie hasn't let you into her room for a long time, has she?" "Thank you for your trouble, Mr. Cook." I forced a smile. After all, she's my fiancée, so of course I know how to take care of a patient. "Fiancé?" Dylan Cook sneered. "You don't actually believe you're the real one, do you? If I hadn't gone abroad back then, do you think you could have kept vigil at Annie's bedside until dawn? She even made me warm her milk to 38 degrees. You never even touched her hand, did you? Want to guess what we did up there all night?" A provocative gleam threatened to spill over in Dylan Cook's eyes. I didn't want to lose the momentum, so I forced myself to strike back. "No matter what, I'm still her fiancé. In 3 days, it's our wedding. You'd better be there." "You." Dylan Cook was furious, but he quickly calmed and sneered. "I'm not going to trade words with you. If you don't believe me, just wait and see whether your wedding can go ahead in 3 days. With that, he turned and left. Sophia Taylor came down the spiral staircase. looking at me with a somewhat reproachful gaze. You argued with him again? She tugged at the silk robe's collar, the red mark on her collarbone glaring under the light. Why do you always pick fights with Dylan? I only treat him like a little brother. My gaze fell on the hickey at the side of her neck. My nails dug into my palm. Miss Taylor is so good to her little brother. She even lets him kiss her neck whenever he wants. Sophia Taylor's brows knitted. Her fingertip quickly brushed the corner of her mouth as she, unusually, tried to explain to me. It was just from brushing against him while giving him medicine. Can you not be so narrow-minded? She came over and, a bit impatiently, tried to comfort me. I really couldn't believe it. 7 years after entering the book, I had been by her side the whole time. Almost everyone around us thought I took advantage of Dylan Cook's trip abroad to steal him away, and they were extremely disgusted with me. But when Sophia Taylor found out, she didn't even offer a single explanation. It wasn't until I forced her to clear things up for me that she impatiently offered a single comforting remark. Don't read too much into it. I didn't want to say anything more. I got up and left. Towards evening, Sophia Taylor finally found me in the back garden. Go back. The servants have already prepared dinner. Don't overthink it. Dylan and I really have nothing going on. I grimaced. Sophia Taylor, who hadn't once bowed her head in 7 years, had now lowered it of her own accord simply because she was afraid I would suspect her white moonlight. Don't worry. I believe you and Dylan have nothing going on. I lowered my head and wiped away my tears. The next time I see Dylan, I'll apologize. Midnight moonlight streamed through the gauze curtains. I stroked the bandage over my chest in front of the vanity mirror. The sharp sting from the wound felt eerily like the terror brought by the runaway truck at the engagement banquet. A whole day had passed, and despite such obvious injuries, Sophia Taylor had never glanced twice, as if certain I wouldn't come to harm. That day in the chaos, only Ryan Taylor rushed over, trembling as he supported me and took me to the hospital. Ryan Taylor's eyes were red, his voice choked. You clearly had already grabbed her and tried to take her away, but she pushed you toward the truck and turned back to save Dylan Cook. The smell of disinfectant mixed with the rust scent on the suit. I stared at the 4-line in a daze, Sophia Taylor's trembling sobs still ringing in my ears. Dylan, hold me tight. Memory slit my heart like a sharp blade. The enormous impact threw me to the ground, my high-end suit shredded by glass. Dylan Cook and Sophia Taylor clung to each other as if they were the couple enduring the ordeal together. Dylan Cook carefully brushed debris from her hair, his gaze so tender it seemed to drip. Where are you hurt? Tell me. Dylan Cook pointed at me not far away. Your fiancé, but she didn't even look, still pressed against Dylan Cook's chest, her voice cold as if quenched in ice. He'll be fine. Just hold me tight. Ryan Taylor supported me as we walked out of the banquet hall. The pain made tears stream uncontrollably down my face. At this moment, touching the wound, that sense of despair and coldness swept over me again, and I instinctively flinched. It turns out only at the brink of life and death can you see clearly whom someone truly loves. I took a deep breath, opened the drawer, and gently placed the engagement ring on the table. It was time to leave this place full of scars. Time will heal everything, and Sophia Taylor will become a chapter of my life I'd rather not remember. When a morning light pierced the gap in the curtains, a countdown reminder of 24 hours popped up on my phone screen. I held that platinum bracelet, the metal links giving off a cold sheen under my fingertips. This was bought for me by Sophia Taylor, who drove through a storm across 2 cities. When she casually gave it to me the next day, she was still stubbornly denying it. It was just something I grabbed from a convenience store. You don't need to make a big deal of it. At the time, the ends of her hair were still dripping. Yet she awkwardly turned her face away, and I treated her half-hearted words like a treasure, hiding them in my inner pocket for a full 3 years. Rubbing the engraved A on the bracelet, my fingertips trembled slightly. It's time. I stepped into Sophia Taylor's private club. This bracelet should be returned to its rightful owner. I placed the chain on the gilded tabletop. The metal's clink sounded as crisp as a breaking heart. Sophia Taylor froze mid-motion, those spring-water-lashed eyes swirling with shock and fury. What do you mean by that? She demanded. She reached for my wrist, but I sidestepped. It means I don't want to be with you anymore. I spat with a cold laugh. I'm here to tell you, have a good life with Dylan Cook. From now on, I'll walk my sunny path, and you can scuttle off to your nether bridge. A flash of panic crossed Sophia Taylor's eyes. What do you mean? You still don't believe Dylan and me are innocent? It doesn't matter anymore whether we're innocent or not. I stopped caring a long time ago. Why don't you care? I'm your fiancé, why don't you care? It was the first time I'd seen Sophia Taylor lose her composure like this. She grabbed me madly, the corners of her eyes reddening slightly. At that moment, a woman suddenly came running in a panic. Something's wrong. Miss Taylor. A car lost control and crashed into our club. It hit Mr. Cook. You should go see. Sophia Taylor, however, went silent the instant I shrugged her off, her fingertips hovering and trembling slightly, the corners of her eyes tinged with faint red as she looked over. I lowered my gaze and fidgeted with the fold of my sleeve. Your Dylan is injured. Why are you looking at me? If there were a Dylan Cook in her eyes, there was no room for anyone else. Sophia Taylor clutched the hem of her skirt with her fingertips and suddenly grabbed my wrist. Last time's engagement was just an accident. Her voice was so soft, as if afraid to shatter something. Back then you were badly injured and hospitalized, saving me. I promised to marry you. I couldn't help but laugh lightly. But if Dylan Cook hadn't gone abroad, would you have said you'd marry me in the intensive care unit after I saved you? Her eyelashes trembled violently. Broken syllables tumbled from her throat, but could no longer form sentences. You were just lonely and couldn't stand it, using me as a backup. I glanced at my watch. 1 hour and 15 minutes until the system forcibly detached. All I wanted now was to get away as soon as possible. Sophia Taylor suddenly gripped my wrist, her fingertips cold as if soaked in frost. Wait for me, okay? Just a little while. She thought my silence meant consent and, without another word, rushed downstairs. I followed her down. Despite having been hit by a car and thrown over, Dylan Cook didn't have a single wound on him. His clothes were only dust-streaked. It's obvious this was all orchestrated by Dylan Cook himself. I watched as Sophia Taylor crouched down, her skirt brushing the floor as she gently helped Dylan Cook to his feet. I watched her deftly avoid the old wound at the back of his neck, a habit only someone who had cared for him closely hundreds of times would have. Don't scare me like that again. Call an ambulance. Her voice harbored an unrelenting gentleness, her ear tips tinged with a faint blush. This must be the softness she kept hidden in her heart. No matter how deliberately he tried to appear weak, she would always catch him without reservation. I counted the ticking of the clock on the wall until that figure returned with a faint scent of medicine. Sophia Taylor walked up to me, her fingertip hanging in the air as she hesitated for a moment, then gently clasped my palm. Come home. No, Dylan Cook is still in the hospital, lying there with no one to look after him. You should go take care of him first. Sophia Taylor's grip on my hand suddenly tightened, the diamond ring digging into me painfully. Wait for me to come back. This time I'll finish it for good. She pushed me into the elevator, her fingertips still warm. This home has no meaning with you gone. As the elevator doors slowly closed, I watched her turn and run toward the underground garage, my nails biting deep into my palm. Just after I stepped out of the apartment gate, I threw that heavy ring into the landscaping. The dull thud of metal hitting the ground startled a few sparrows into flight. I knew Dylan Cook would never let go easily. That man who coiled around Sophia Taylor like a venomous snake always managed to appear at the most critical moments, using his pale, sickly looks and hoarse whispers to effortlessly destroy all her reason. Sure enough, as dusk spread across the skyline, my phone screen remained black as ink. The system's prompt sound exploded in the silence. Host, 15 minutes until the plot resets. I stood on the overpass, watching the traffic below wind into rivers of light, and suddenly I laughed out loud. So I'm nothing but a clown in this story. Memories washed over my nerves like a tide. That late night, I was scrolling through the online novel marketplace when a story called Loving to the Extreme is Destruction stabbed at my eyes. In the story, Sophia Taylor, a girl who clawed her way from the slums to become a rising business elite, fell completely after meeting Dylan Cook. To cure him, she embezzled company funds, forged financial reports, and ultimately ended up behind bars. And Dylan Cook, on the day she stood trial, appeared at the awards ceremony with a new love. I was trembling with rage back then and wrote a 10,000-character comment in the discussion section. Why can't anyone wake this idiot up? Fate played its tricks. The next day, I was selected by the system and sent back with a mission to save the tragic heroine. For the past 6 months, I took her to therapists, helped rebuild her team, and even arranged that carefully planned engagement party, thinking I could rewrite the ending. The countdown's last-second beeps sounded in my ear. I took a deep breath and walked toward that distant, soft halo of light. In a daze, Sophia Taylor's cries pierced time and space. Ethan, don't leave me. But I knew that in this predetermined story, she would ultimately kneel at Dylan Cook's bedside, begging him to accept that scarred, shattered heart. Some fates, those suffocating reversals, no matter how one struggles, cannot escape the set ending. Ethan. Sophia Taylor suddenly clenched her phone for no reason, her manicure dragging across the screen with a grating sound. A dull pain at her chest made her catch her breath. She grabbed her cashmere coat and rushed to the hospital. Dylan Cook appeared around the stairwell corner, his pale hand resting on the carved banister. Where are you going so late? I have something to do. Without looking back, Sophia Taylor pulled open the door. The click of her high heels on the marble floor was as rapid as a heartbeat. She trembled as she opened the surveillance app. The empty living room on the screen stung her eyes. On the wrought-tan chair Ethan Johnson used to sit in, there wasn't even a scrap of clothing left. Annie, Dylan Cook chased out of the ward. You promised you'd stay with me tonight. Sophia Taylor slammed the car window down, the cold wind stinging her reddened eyes. I said I'd only stay until 7. Ethan is still waiting for me at home. I still need to go back and make his favorite meal. After saying that, Sophia Taylor got into the car. Dylan Cook tried to block the car door, but she slipped past him with precision. The look that used to be only gentle toward him was now filled with coldness. Move aside. I don't have time to argue with you now. The taillights drew crimson arcs in the night, leaving him frozen in place. When Sophia Taylor rushed into the house, the wooden floor still carried a faint scent of cedar cologne. She followed the scent and pushed open the study door. Moonlight was streaming through the sheer curtains onto the bay window, where a translucent halo hovered and my outline flickered within its glow. Wait, she staggered forward, but her fingertips passed through my shoulder. The icy sensation brought tears streaming down her face. You promised you'd wait for me. At that moment, Ryan Taylor came up beside her and took out the cardboard box I'd given him earlier. Look, this is what Ethan handed me before he left. Inside are the answers you want to know. The box opened. Inside was a diary and a diamond ring covered in dust. Sophia Taylor opened the notebook. She was standing by the floor-to-ceiling window watching the snow when she suddenly said, I wish there were mulled wine. I ran across half the city to find a little shop that makes cinnamon apple mulled wine. When I returned, my scarf was full of ice crystals. When she took the cup, she said, I should have just ordered delivery, but she didn't see my fingers pink with cold or the extra frosted cookies in the thermos bag that she likes. Cook's phone rang again. When she answered, her voice softened as if she had tucked all its sharpness into a velvet box. I watched her touch up her lipstick in a mirror and suddenly understood that some waits are like being at an airport where the ship never comes, yet I still wanted to be her eternal spare umbrella. You always say I'm like a shadow, but at least a shadow can stay with you to watch every sunset. This time I'm really leaving, wishing you and Dylan Cook, may your wishes come true. The two words, may your wishes come true, bled on the paper, as if dampened by tears. Reading that final line, Sophia Taylor's heart clenched. She suddenly realized it wasn't Dylan Cook who couldn't live without her. It was she who couldn't live without the person who always waited for her to turn back. And now, the one who brewed mugwort foot soaks for her when she had cramps, who quietly dimmed the lights while she raced to finish a piece, had truly taken all the starlight with him, leaving her in the long night to finally see the cracks in her own heart, cracks that had long been shaped by his tenderness. Days without Ethan Johnson seemed, at first glance, no different than before. Sophia Taylor got up, went to work, and came home, as usual, every day. But when she woke from a nightmare in the middle of the night and looked into the pitch-black darkness, she suddenly realized that she had long since become accustomed to Ethan Johnson's presence. Only after he left did she finally discover that his traces were everywhere in the house. On the dining table were neatly stacked sticky notes accumulated over 7 years. Each one had a tiny smiley drawn in the lower right corner. She then remembered that she always lost her temper with him when her stomach hurt, never noticing that he would put notes on the pillbox. Take half an hour after meals. Water at 45 degrees Celsius is best. On the bedroom vanity, the warming patches in the glass jar were lined up by date, neat and orderly. A sticky note on the jar reading, Day 2 of my period use lavender scent. Painkillers are in the little bear biscuit tin. Even deep in the wardrobe, there were traces of Ethan Johnson. An exquisite gift box. A silver blue certificate slipped to the floor. The gilded words Certificate of the International Astronomical Union shimmered faintly in the dusk. In the recipient name, field the 3 characters Sophia Taylor, were traced particularly neatly, and beside it was asteroid number 202-917, her birthday. On the back of the certificate, written in fountain pen, was, "I heard that stars live for billions of years, so I'll borrow their eyes and watch every clear night of yours." So you actually bought a star? Sophia Taylor's fingers brushed the gilded letters on the certificate. Her nose suddenly went prickly, and tears kept falling onto the ring. When the phone exploded at midnight, Sophia Taylor was staring at the certificate Ethan had left behind. Ryan Taylor called her. When she picked up, his voice trembled with urgency. "Sis, come to Vivi Club right now. Noah Lewis brought 3 fresh models to private room 666. Some things you should hear for yourself." Sophia Taylor had long stopped loving Dylan Cook, but she still felt he was hiding something from her. This time, perhaps, she could clear up the doubts in her heart. The neon in the KTV hallway streamed over damp hair. The door to room 666 was ajar, and Dylan Cook's laughter spilled out mixed with the smell of smoke and alcohol. "That idiot Sophia Taylor actually thinks I came back to the country to chase her. My dad's port project has been stuck for nearly half a year. I acted out a romance with her, and her company could help get it unblocked. Isn't that more cost-effective than greasing palms?" "That truck accident at the engagement banquet," someone asked. "I originally planned to crash into that bootlicker by her side, Ethan Johnson, but at the crucial moment Sophia Taylor pushed him. Amid the jeers, someone whistled, but it worked out. With the Hero Rescues Beauty Act, everyone at Taylor Group thought I was a devoted prince, and the project was approved the next day." Dylan Cook went on to boast, "Women need the martyr act, especially these loveless heiresses. Let a couple of tears fall, and she'll lay her heart bare." "So your sleeping with her was an act too? Otherwise?" Dylan Cook took a swig of whiskey. "She thinks I like her in silk nightgowns, but the truth is I need pills to get it up every time." He suddenly lowered his voice. "But the Taylor Group's official seal is easy to fool. Just whisper, 'I want a future' in her ear, and she hands me the approval papers herself." Sophia Taylor's nails dug deep into her palm. She remembered that a few days ago, Ethan Johnson's thigh was pierced by rebar. He nearly lost his life, while Dylan Cook only suffered a scrape, yet cried like a passionate lover in front of the media. If he hadn't deliberately caused trouble, how could I have missed seeing Ethan one last time? Dylan Cook. The laughter died the moment the private room door was pushed open. Dylan Cook's pupils constricted. The bottom of his whiskey glass slammed hard onto the glass table. "How dare you? How dare you not give me a heads up?" Sophia Taylor stepped in, the surveillance footage sweeping over his terrified face. "You didn't tell me in advance when you bribed the truck driver at the engagement banquet either, did you?" She shook her phone. The screen showed a security camera still. He was stuffing cash into the driver's hand. Noah Lewis's back tensed, his fingers stealthily reaching for the phone in his pocket. "Listen to my explanation. It was just an accident." "An accident?" Sophia Taylor tossed out a hospital report. It was Ethan Johnson's critical condition notice. She suddenly laughed, tears welling at the corners of her eyes. "You meant to crash into him, didn't you? Because he was in your way." The music in the private room had stopped unnoticed, leaving only the hum of the air conditioning. Dylan Cook suddenly stood up, his suit-clad body trembling. "So what if I did it? What can I do to you?" Sophia Taylor held up another video. In the footage, he was counting money to the camera. "This is surveillance from the casino VIP room. And this is your record of renting rooms with countless internet celebrities and young models. Want me to keep finding more for you?" Dylan Cook's lips began to turn white, his gaze sweeping over the internet celebrities trembling around him. "You think exposing these will ruin me? Shares in Cook Group." "Shares?" Sophia Taylor cut him off. "I'll terminate our cooperation with Cook Group immediately. How much of your stock do you think will remain?" She shook her phone. "He just called me and said thank you for helping him clear house." "Impossible." Dylan Cook suddenly shouted, but when he saw the Cook Group board notice removing him pop up on her phone, his voice completely shattered. "Annie, I'm wrong. I really love you." He thudded to his knees, his knee pressing into scattered cigar ash. "I don't want the port project anymore. Let's get married abroad. I promise from now on." "Love me." Sophia Taylor watched him claw at her calf and suddenly felt sick. "What you love is the political and business resources I can give you. The Taylor family docks $30 million a year in profit. The foolishness that makes me willing to stand in front of truck for you." She kicked his hand away. "Ethan wouldn't lie to me, wouldn't scheme against me. He'd even risk his life for my safety. But I stomped on his true heart and chose to believe a scum like you." Dylan Cook suddenly looked up, a vicious light flashing in his eyes. You think you'll be better off without me? Ethan Johnson is gone. What can he give you? Only I can give you. He gave me a sky full of stars. Sophia Taylor took out the star certificate, and you gave me nothing but a con. She took a deep breath, and her voice cooled again. Cook Group will decisively ditch you to work with us, and you will spend the rest of your life in prison for hiring killers and corporate fraud. After returning to the real world, I quit reading online novels and was in the library chewing through Introduction to Astrophysics when Emma Wilson suddenly burst into the study room, tapping her phone. Ethan Johnson, look, that book from back then. She still had a scallion leaf from the cafeteria on her glasses, her finger frantically poking the screen. The heroine Sophia Taylor actually fell in love with someone else. Ink spread into a blot on the notebook for my fountain pen. That name that once made me cry late at night. Sophia Taylor, the aloof beauty I'd fought with all my might to save when I was in the book, was now appearing in bold on the recommendation page. Emma Wilson didn't notice my knuckles whitening and kept chattering. The new male supporting character is called Ethan Johnson, same name as you. He's set to be Sophia Taylor's college classmate, and he actually loosens her 10-year obsession with Dylan Cook. But it still ends in a B. She suddenly sniffed. The phone screen reflected the reddened corners of her eyes. Ethan Johnson suddenly dies on some rainy night, and later Sophia Taylor sells all her properties to fund time reversal experiments and gets conned by charlatans out of everything. Hearing that, I sighed. It seems the story has been altered, but the ending still remains unchanged. Relying solely on my own strength was still too insignificant. But it doesn't matter anymore. I'm back now, and I have no more ties with Sophia Taylor. As for how she ended up like this, you could only say she brought it on herself. Ding! The phone vibrated on the desk. The lock screen popped up 3 unread messages, all using the system's 3-year-old notification tone. I suddenly remembered the crappy system that had bound to me when I transmigrated into the book, the electronic voice that always failed at crucial moments, now frantically bombarding me with a 99+ red badge. Warning: novel character breaching the world barrier. Warning: target subject located. Ethan, you look awful. Emma Wilson reached out to feel my forehead, then suddenly caught sight of my phone screen. When did you download that reading app? The library announcement suddenly stuttered, the broadcaster's voice trembling. Biology, student Ethan Johnson, please come to the first-floor lobby. Someone is looking for you. I stared at the ginkgo-lined avenue outside the glass wall. The draft sent golden leaves skittering across the ground, and for a moment I saw a figure in a light gray trench coat flash by. The color Sophia Taylor wore most often in the book, the hem cut sharp as a blade, even the arc of her turn radiating a coldness that kept people at bay. Is she here? Emma Wilson followed my gaze and suddenly grabbed my wrist. Ethan, look, that girl in the trench coat. The owner of the light gray trench coat stood behind the revolving door, a platinum diamond ring on her left ring finger, the small diamond set in the band throwing off a cold gleam in the sunlight. The very ring I had slipped in her palm before I died. Sunlight threaded through the tips of her hair and cast butterfly-like shadows over her collarbone, exactly like the book's description of frost that looked as if it could melt at any moment. She looked up toward the library's top floor, and the moment her eyes swept over me, I heard my heart pounding like a drum. Run! A small boy suddenly bumped into me from behind, Ryan Taylor. He was gasping, his breath carrying the metallic tang of blood. My sister has really gone mad this time. She blew up the lab. All because of that line, Ethan might still be alive. The revolving door was suddenly thrown open, and a light gray trench coat swept ginkgo leaves into the hall. Sophia Taylor's wrist was wrapped in pristine white gauze. The diamond ring flashed a cold light in the reflection of the glass door. She stared at me. The chandelier on the top floor mirrored in her pupils like a recovered treasure. Ethan Johnson, this time I won't lose you again. Don't come any closer. Ryan Taylor stepped in front of me. You promised you'd go to the hospital first. If you leave that wound on your wrist any longer, it'll get infected. Infected? Sophia Taylor laughed, her fingertips brushing my wrist with the exact same pressure she'd used to rub my wound when I entered the book, but with a bone-chilling cold. When he fought off that drunk, the blade pierced an artery, the blood that sprayed onto me. I can still remember the warmth of it. She suddenly leaned in. Cedar cologne mixed with the scent of rust filled my nose, and the diamond ring on her ring finger pressed against my palm. This time let me hurt. Let me go mad. Okay. Sophia Taylor really came this time. Ethan, Sophia Taylor pulled me into an empty corner, tilting her head up to look at me. Tears clinging to her eyelashes broke into tiny diamonds in the light, and the edge of the diamond ring on her ring finger was worn shiny. I've worn this ring for 3 years and 107 days. I was even afraid to take a shower and lose it. But it's okay. I finally found you now. I looked down to avoid her reddened eyes. Get up. This is the study area. No, you don't know what I went through for you. Will you come back with me? Come back. I snorted coldly. Go back to more of your cold violence. More of your torment? No, never. Sophia Taylor suddenly dropped to her knees, clinging to my leg and begging desperately. I've cut ties with Dylan Cook. I personally put him in prison. From now on, I will love only you. Look at this. She suddenly tore open the knit's neckline. The newly inked Ethan above her left breast was still seeping scabs, like a gruesome wound. Yesterday at the tattoo parlor, it hurt so much I fainted. The artist said if it's done wrong, it can be fixed, but I insisted on aligning it with the scar on your chest. Her fingertips trembled violently, making the diamond ring flash faintly in the light. This is the ring you gave me. I've worn it so long on my ring finger it's deformed. Look now, the base of the finger is even indented. Belated devotion is more worthless than grass. I no longer love her. No matter how tearful her words, my heart remains perfectly still. Finished. I pulled out a tissue and tossed it on her lap. When you're done talking, tend to the wound. Don't dirty the floor. Not finished. She suddenly grabbed my trouser leg, her fingertip pressing on the old wound in my abdomen. This scar here is from taking a knife for you. And here, her burning palm pressed against my left chest, rubbing that diagonal scar through my shirt. I shoved you away from rebar that pierced you. The doctor said if it had been 2 centimeters off, it would have gone through the heart. I ripped her hand away abruptly. Sophia Taylor was thrown to the ground by me. I had never been so rough with her before, and she hadn't expected it. She stood there frozen. Sophia Taylor, how much longer are you going to act? Now you suddenly care about how much I hurt. A group of drunks stabbed my abdomen 7 times. Did you ever ask me how much that hurt? You pierced my chest with rebar, and you didn't even notice I was hurt until I left. What are you still pretending for? I'll carry these scars on my body for the rest of my life. But the pain you caused me hurts far more than these scars. Her face went ashen in an instant, tears welling in her beautiful eyes, making her look utterly heart-rending. She choked out, I am sorry. I will make it up to you from now on. I'll spend the rest of my life making it right. No need. I sneered, crouching down to look her in the eye. We are done, the 2 of us. Do you understand? Consider those 7 years I gave to you. Her tears hit the back of my hand. I regret it. I really do. I shouldn't have treated you that way back then. You know, I didn't understand love at the time. I understand now. I love you. Please give me one more chance, Ethan. No, I don't want to go through that painful memory a second time. Sophia Taylor suddenly laughed, her laughter threaded with sobs. You know everything, so why won't you believe me? Her fingertips brushed the collar of my shirt, where the scar from the car accident years ago was hidden. These scars are real. When you were in pain, I was in pain too. When you screamed in the middle of the night, I couldn't sleep either. Enough. I pulled the dagger from her wrist and threw it to the ground. Take me back with you? Fine. Shall I cut your belly 7 times first, then stab your heart once, okay? The sound of the dagger hitting the floor was unusually clear. She stared at the reflection on the blade, then suddenly grabbed it and pressed it to her lower abdomen. Fine, I'll give it back to you. Sophia Taylor. I reached to grab it, but she had already plunged it in. The warm blood instantly soaked through her shirt. The first stab is to repay those 7 years. The second stab is to repay the night you saved me in the rain. She counted the stabs. The third stab is to repay the injury on our engagement night. The fourth stab, when the 7th knife pierced the stomach, her body swayed and almost collapsed. The last stab, the blade tip aimed at the heart, blood spilling from the corner of her mouth, is to repay the love engraved in my bones and blood. The study room erupted in a chorus of screams. Someone knocked over a chair. Someone frantically tapped their phone. I stared at the bloodstain on her chest and suddenly remembered the 7th year I schemed to win her over. She hid in an alley and cried, saying Dylan Cook didn't want her, and I took 7 stabs from a drunk man for her. You're insane. You really are insane. My voice trembled. She smiled, blood froth splattering onto my shirt. Yes, I love you to madness. Her fingertip traced the scar on my abdomen, the jagged edge of the diamond ring cutting my skin. This way you'll remember me, right? Like I remember the path of every one of your scars. As the ambulance siren wailed in the distance, she suddenly grabbed my wrist and shoved the bloody ring into my palm. Ethan, I love you. She was taken away by the medical staff who surged in before she could finish speaking. Her fingertips were still hooked on my shirt button, tearing off a pearl button. 3 days later, the school's confession wall exploded. The heroine from the library blood incident disappeared on the ambulance. Surveillance caught her vanishing into thin air, only a blood-stained ring left behind. I understood. The system had taken her back into the book. I opened a reading app and clicked on that book. It's been a long time since there was an update. The latest chapter had only one abrupt line. Sophia Taylor was found dead in the wilderness, 7 stab wounds to the abdomen, 1 through the chest, wearing a rusty diamond ring on her ring finger. The computer screen suddenly flickered, and a system prompt popped up. Plot anomaly detected. Character Sophia Taylor has been forcibly recycled. I stared at that half-finished ending in the document, my mind slowly going blank. I didn't even know what I was thinking. The rain eased. I looked at the scar on my chest and suddenly couldn't tell whether the bloodstains in last night's ambulance were hers or ink bleeding from the pages.